Okay. So see, what happens in AEM? Maybe you have multiple steps that you have to perform each and every time. Let's take a simple example, like we were discussing about that there can be an authors group of users and an approvers. Okay, we created two. We can create two groups, and within each group, one is the approver group and one is the author group. Author
Mm,
group only has the right that they can create the content, and approver group has the
mm,
right that they will finally approve it. Now, like consider we are the authors. So what we have to do is we have to create the content, and then the first step that we have to do is we have to make a request to the approval group of users to kindly approve it or kindly review it. In case if they will like it, then
mm,
they will see that okay, yes, I'm replicating. In case if they feel that okay, the content doesn't look so good and there is some changes, then what they can do is they can step back and reassign it back to the author.
mm,
Or there can be another scenario also where in a group, like in an approval group, there are multiple users. Now one of the user is going on leave, so he can assign
mm,
that capability or for reviewing to another group, another user.
mm,
Okay. Now if these steps you have to do manually, then of course it will be tedious task because every time you have to get your content on the publisher instance on to the end user side. Then every time you have to go to approve a user, you have to make a request to them, oh, kindly approve my content, kindly review. And then they will review, they will see that, okay, if the content look good, then they will replicate it. Okay. That's how manually it will be done. They will finally replicate it in case if they like it or not. Or in case if they won't, they will again ask the authors only, that particular person or the author to kindly review it back. Okay. So there is no, it's all manual and there is no like you can see you understood there is no uh like uh, like there is no proper way over here through which this task can be done. Okay,
mm,
so workflows here helps us in executing the step by step execution of these things automatically. So what basically we do is we create workflows, and then workflows can be executed on any payload. Payload by payload, I mean any path, any page path, or any time path, anything. Okay. So when workflow get executed, we have to execute a workflow on any page. Because here, if I show you, like here, yeah, if I go to site, if I go to the Tojo project, okay, here if I select any page, then here you will see there will be an option to not okay. If I will go inside, sorry, if I will go inside, then there comes the option to start the workflow. So here
mm,
you get the option to start the workflow. Then you can here say which workflow do you want to start. So
mm,
workflow always executes or workflow is always triggered on an payload. Payload can either be a page path, can be a DM path, on whichever. Like if you want to activate a image event, but that image should need to go through an approval group of users because they can only approve. They only have the rights to approve the content. So of course,
mm,
for everything you will execute a workflow in that case. So here
mm,
you see in the hammer icon, there is a workflow link. If I go to workflow, you see there are so many things. So we will discuss about each and every of these.
mm,
First is the model. Model is the place where you create the workflows. Okay, so the
mm,
workflows that gets created are created over here. If I go over here, here you can create your own workflow. So if I go over here, create model, and you can write like Tojo workflow. Okay, simple. So here I created this workflow, Tojo workflow, and it's created. Now, if I edit it, you will see it will have its start and end. The workflow starts and ends. And between that, you can add any number of steps that you wanted. Like in
mm,
our case, how many steps do we want to execute? Firstly, the request should be sent to the approver user. In case if the approver user, whatever action they perform, whatever review things they do, they can finally approve it. So
mm,
the next step will be approval, activation of content. Okay, so the first step is sending a request to an approver user or any user or any group, and the second is to approve. Now, within that, once the request is sent to the approver, then they can either step back by asking that okay, the content doesn't look good, or they can delegate that. That will be in the first step only. But if they approve it, then the next step that will be executed is to activate the content. Okay. Similarly, there can be a workflow which will deactivate the content. Or within the same workflow, if I show you, so these are the steps. These are called as the steps. You see the step one. So I can delete this by default step one, and I can, if I will double click, Adobe gives you all the out of box steps. So here you see this is an and split. Here you have a lot of steps. These steps helps us in executing our thing. Like here you see or split. So or split here we can use if you want to activate or deactivate. So there can be condition written in this case. I will show you. Okay. Similarly, there is a step through which you can even call your backend Java file. I will tell you about that even, but I won't write the backend. So here, our first step is to send a request to an group of user. Okay. So here you see there are these two steps: dialog participant step, dynamic participant step. So one is the dynamic participant step, and there is this. Just a minute. Participant. One is a participant step and one is the dynamic participant step. So see, so what happens? These two steps basically send a request to a user or a group of user where we can select whether to which user or group of user the request should be sent to. Here is our participant step. Here is our participant step. Where is it? Yeah. So here we have to statically select that, okay, to this particular user or to this particular group. But if I select dynamic participant step, with that, request will be in that way, we can call a backend Java thing. And through that, we can say, in the backend, we can choose which user or to which group the request should be sent. Okay, so because its name is dynamic. So here basically what we do is we choose a backend Java class and there we return a user or a group of users. Basically users or group of users, these are called as principals in AEM. If you remember, we saw that CRXDE in the CRXDE. So these are stored below the form hierarchy, if you remember that. So if you remember, I'll just show you. Or anything like any ref policy even. This is the ref policy. This is the allow policy. So here it says ref principal name. So principal name indicates principal basically where in here indicates the user or group of user. So what is the principal? So here we call it as these as principals and home users and groups are stored below the home hierarchy that we already discussed. Like here maybe one of the user or here maybe one of the user like so here this is one of the users. So here these are principals. Basically, we call them a principal. Right? Okay. So we were in the yeah. So first step we will select is the participant step. So participant step helps us in choosing a user or a group of users statically. So here if I will go, here I say that okay, the title is participant, you can select it, and here I will select the user or group. Here I say notify user by mail. I will show you what this email is. So what was our group? I think it was Tojo AEM group. Okay, so it has only Tojo users. So the request will be sent to the Tojo group within that group. If I say if I have another user as well, so to that also, like let me say within that, let me go to the security and let me create another user with the name AEM dev. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm searching it. Sorry, not I have to create it. Let me create a user with the name AEM dev. Okay, and the password is also dev. And let me just add. And to which group does it belong to? Let's say your to new group. So the Tojo AEM group. So now there are two members to this Tojo AEM group. One is this AEM dev and one is a Tojo user. Now I said, okay, let me close the security. Now, what I said in the participant step is that the request should be sent to either now I can say the request can be sent to a Tojo user or to the whole Tojo group or to that AEM dev user. So
Hmm.
here, let me see the request is sent to the whole group. Okay. So
Hmm.
this is the first step, that is the participant. Now the next step is to approve the content. So there, here you will see there are already a lot of steps which helps you in doing that. If I will scroll, let me just search, activate. So you say activate period, so deactivate period. Okay, so activate, this is the step that I will select, and here is my workflow ready. So here I said, if my user approvers approve it, then the next step will be executed. If the approvers doesn't execute, then by default it will go to the to go to the go to the previous step. Okay.
Hmm.
Now if you want to add that condition or like like here or split. I think in or okay, or split, if I choose, let me just see. Here, 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 you
Hmm.
see, here we have two branches. That means at a time, one of that will be executed, and I think there should be a condition. Here we have two branches. I can add three branches as well. So here, let me just remove any number of branches you want. And here you will write the rule. Okay, select default root should be this, and select routing expression rule definition. So through these, see, here it says that, okay, this will be the default route, the branch one, even if you do not want, like in case if, how this will be default will be selected if the rule or the conditions written inside these scripts, like here, either you can rule it by, either you can write the condition by using these conditions, like here, let me just again show it to you, sorry. So here, these are the three ways in which you can write the rules. Basically, why the branch one should be executed. If I say in the branch one, activate content, and in the branch two, deactivate content, then either of these two will be executed. Now, on which condition it will be executed is on the basis of the script that I will write using either of these three methods. Either I
Hmm.
can use some external script, I have to provide the path for that, or either I can write this rule definition. So through rule definition, I can write the rules within here. Like here, some variable, if the variable values comes out to be is greater than or equal to something like this, and uh, again the value like this thing. So here it basically it means that the values or rules can be written within this workflow expression only.
Hmm.
Here, either you can use some another like JavaScript, and there's an ECMAScript also supported. So ECMA is altogether a separate language in which the JS, it's basically JS only, but the syntax for this is a bit different. You can use simple script also. So this should return either true or false, because if it will return true, then this branch one will be executed. Okay?
Hmm.
The external script that you will choose, of course, you will choose the same script in both the branches. It will return, basically, it should return true under one of the circumstances. Or you will choose, like, I mean, basically, you can understand, like, you can choose an external script, you can write a JavaScript, and it should either return a true or false, and on the basis of that, only that branch will be executed.
Hmm.
Oh, and you see, note that only one branch can be the default route. If both the branches comes out to be false, if the external script in both the branches gives you false, then the default one will get executed. It means it will become an else as well. Like
Hmm.
if this is the if else, then there will be an else, so this will become the else as well.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Okay, so this way you can choose the means branches as well through the or condition. Similarly, there is an and in which all the branches will be executed. So
Hmm.
if I show you the and one, so by that way, if you want parallelly multiple steps to be executed, in that way you will use it. So here you will go. You can add the branches. Here you do not get the rule thing. You can add the branches and all the steps that you have within those branches, all will be executed. You see, here there is no rule within the branch because and means all the three or how many branches are there, those will be executed. Okay.
Hmm.
So here we just use our simple thing that is first the request will go to the participant and then the request will be for the activation of page or asset and everything. Let me sync this workflow. So what you do is whenever you create a workflow, you always have to sync it. So here, any change that I will make, let's say I synced it. Now I decided to make a change. Here, let me say the participant is, uh, so here, let me add a timeout. Let's say some 60 seconds of timeout, or 600 seconds of. Let's not time out because in case if we delay our execution. So there is a timeout handler as well. Okay. Let's say any but we are not timing out. So it's okay. So here, if I make a change, you see, again it's asking me to sync the changes. Every time you make a change, you have to sync your changes. Let me
Hmm.
revert it back. So you have always have to sync your changes. Now our workflow is ready with the name Sojo work. Now you say if you want to start a workflow on this page, basically you see, say that okay, this in this home page you edit or you prepared some content like our own component only, the component that we created. Uh, okay, let me say some other. Yeah, let me say uh, some title. Okay, okay. So now we are done with this, and now we have to start a workflow. So what I will do, I will start the workflow, and here I will select the one. Okay, let me just show. So here we created a workflow, and either you can start the workflow from here as well or from the individual page. So even if you will start from here, then also it will ask you to select the payload. Where exactly do you want to start the workflow? So let me say our workflow name is Tojo. Please, here is the tool. Okay, any description, even if you do not want to give that's also okay. Okay, so here let me just duplicate this stream and let me just again go back to the workflow. So here we created our that workflow model, and now on the actual page we are starting the workflow. Okay.
Hmm.
Now let's. I will start the workflow in a minute. Before that, let me just tell you about these instances. So all the currently running workflows. Okay, you come on an instance and you wanted to see how which all workflows are running. Then you can see it over here. Instance.
Hmm.
All the running workflows, the workflow which are in the running state, are can be seen over here.
Hmm.
All the workflows which were running and have successfully completed, the history for that can be seen inside the archive. And
Hmm.
all the workflows which failed can be
Hmm.
seen over here. The
Hmm.
success ones can be seen over here. So see, once the workflow is running, you can see it over here. So from
Hmm.
here, either it will go inside here or either it will go inside here, depending upon if it's a success. From here, the details of it will go inside archive. If the workflow got failed somehow, then it will go inside the failure. So
Hmm.
now if I will start my workflow, then the details you see, the page is subject to workflow, Tojo workflow. Okay. Now its detail can be seen over here. You see this
Hmm.
work. This is what we started. This is what we can see over here and the title.
Hmm.
Now since I'm logged in as an admin user, that is why I am seeing this detail and I can see either I can complete, delegate, or view the details. This is because I told you admin user can do everything. You see, I am logged in as an the admin user can do everything. So let's do one thing. Let me sign out and log in with the Tojo user. Okay,
Hmm.
Tojo and Tojo. Oh, sorry.
Hmm.
Now here you see, you remember I selected that send email also in the participant step.
Hmm.
Here in this, here I selected in the participant step. Here I selected that okay, also send the email
Hmm.
notification email. So what email? What is the concept of email over here is? So I'm now as an let me just refresh it. I hope I'm logged in as an admin user now. It's a Tojo user. Okay, yeah. I'm now as a Tojo user. And here also, a user, any like a Tojo user can go to instances, and here he can see that what all the currently running instances and is there anyone on his name or not. But of course, this is not good every time he has to go. So there is an email concept as well. So here you see there is a bell icon. So here in this bell icon, the
Hmm.
user can see which all notification he has got. So here he can see that okay, there is a participant this workflow has been triggered to your AEM. So it is assigned to this,
Hmm.
and now the step is the participant step. In case he wants to complete it, then the next step will be executed. If he wants to step back, that okay, say no, 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 the things are not looking good, then he can step back. And if you want to delegate another user within the same group, the other user was the AEM user. So if I delegate, you see, either Tojo or he can delegate it to the AEM dev, the one that we today only created.
Hmm.
So he can delegate. Or if you want to see open and see the more details, like okay, this is a content path and the status. I scroll down. So all the details, like it is in active state. Okay, and workflow info, some more info, where the workflow details are stored, the history, the payload is on which the workflow has been started, all the details and the command. There's no command. Similarly, if Tojo user will go back and he can see the payload, means basically he will go to the page where this workflow has been started. So here I went to this page, I can see that okay, the page is looking good. So either it can be completely delegated from here or from anywhere. Like even if I say complete, then the workflow will be completed. So here it's the next step is activate page and asset. Because of course we know we created and here like activate and let's say okay. So here the next step was to activate the page. So if I will go over here and if I show you my that replication queue, because I haven't started my publisher, so my replication queue should be blocked. So agents on author, and you see the queue is blocked. If I go over here, you see now it automatically executed. Internally, it made the use of workflow process user to perform this activity, and it activated this page. So all the steps now automatically get executed. The responsibility of the first one was to author was to start the workflow, and then the workflow got started, and once the user or the approver user or the participant user will approve it, then the next step will be executed. So let's say if I want to clear this queue, I do not want to clear, because what happens if you don't clear your queue, in case there is no publisher running, then it continuously keep on checking or keep on trying to refresh. The best is that you clear the queue.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, again, like we discussed the whole process, how the work. Now you see the workflow once the work got completed. Now you
Hmm.
do not see the work. Now in the same way, let me again sign out and log in with the admin user. Then let me sign out and log in with the admin user. Okay. So here, if I go to Hammer, the workflow. So here in the instances, you were able to see the currently running workflow. And now a workflow is successfully completed. Okay. Then
Hmm.
the archive. In the archive, you see the top. Here you see that your workflow got completed. The initiator was the admin,
Hmm.
and what all steps got executed. You can further see. Open history, you will see. It got started by admin, participant user was the one, and Tojo within that approved it. And further, it got activated. Further, the next step was the activate period asset. And who did that? The user. Because internally, steps behind the scene, of course, it has to activate page. So there would be some code written to activate the page. So it has to be done through some user. That is the workflow service user.
Hmm.
It's an internal implementation. So here you see the whole, basically all the successfully completed workflow you see over here in the archive section. All the unsuccessfully completed you see in the failures. So you see the failures you have nothing. It means the
Hmm.
workflow was successfully completed. Okay.
Okay.
Let's again start a workflow and like told you, and if you will go here also you can start like see if here I can select the payload again. So here if I select the payload as content or the best is that you go to the page and there only start, but this is another payload. So like if I
What
want to
is
start
payload? Payload means again?
payload is the path on which you want to start the workflow. See,
Oh.
workflow will be started, but and it has to execute some steps. But
Hmm.
on what it should execute those steps, it will be the payload. Is a path. of the page or asset or whatever it is, or experience fragment or content fragment, whatever you want. Okay. And let's say, okay, the title you can say again, starting Dojo workflow on my new page. Okay, let's run it. Okay, so if you will go to the page that is not this page, let me just close this page, and let me refresh there and go to my new page. Dojo, yes, my new page, edit. Here you will see the workflow will start appearing because here you have this workflow already started. Okay. Now again, either you can let me just the admin user. Okay, let's say even if the admin user started now, I'm not logging out back. I'm log out. I can log out or log in, but the admin user can also do the same thing. So here, if I see again, it has got the thing. Like let me just okay. So here now either I can again complete or step back. If I say step back, so what the selected item cannot be step back. Okay, why it cannot be step back? Okay, let me just log out with some admin and log it Dojo. Okay, so here Dojo user would have also received it. So let me say view all file. Here I can say step back. No, I do not like the selected item cannot be step back. Why is it so? Selected item cannot be step back.
Selected is participant.
Means now the request has been sent to the participant from the initiator. But what I'm trying to do is to send it back to the initiator because as an approver, I do not like the content. Step with the item and okay, I will check on this because there is no error. So some functionality I'm missing. I will check on this. I will check on this. In the same way, you can delegate. Like here, Toji user said that okay, I'm going on leave. Let AEM dev user handle. So here, if I will do okay, so here it will still remain in your plate, but now the you see the assignee has become the AEM dev user. So AEM dev user can further do the activity. He can log AEM dev and AEM dev. Now he will get the further intimation that okay, you need to you need to work on that because now it's the assignee is the particular assignee is not the whole group, but assignee is only a particular user. Because earlier it was the whole group, Tojo AEM group. But from that, the particular user, Tojo group user, assigned it to a particular user. Okay, now he can further complete it. Let's say complete and now it went out of its plate and again it will come over here. You see, it again came. The next step got executed. And let me just clear the queue. Again, if you will go, you will see over here. Let me just log in with the admin user. Sign out and log in with the admin user. And if you will go to the workflows and you will see inside the archives the success. So you see, now it is over here. If I open the history, so the history will show you the AEM dev user because firstly it was the participant and then the delegation happened. The workflow item delegated and then the workflow item got completed. Here also it got. Okay. So each and every step you can see in the history what all happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, any currently running workflows you can see over here. You see now there won't be any. Okay, this was when I previously started. So, okay, this is the whole workflow. Now there is one more thing. There are a few more things which I want to tell you, which are important. So here you see you have a lot of steps over here. So there won't be any chance that you would need to create your custom step because AEM by default provide all the steps. Neither AEM suggests you to create any custom steps because all these steps you can do any complex thing as well. You see, like if you want to go to a particular step, like if you want to switch or you want to skip some of the steps and you directly want to go to a particular step depending upon a condition, then you can select this. There's so many steps. Even I don't know the purpose of each and every, but the time you want to use a particular perform particular, then you just search on that and it will give you that okay, this step you can use. Okay, the another important step is this process step. So this process step, I want to tell you, this process step basically through this you can execute your backend Java. So any
Mm.
backend Java logic you want to write, like consider like you want that every time some like whenever you execute this workflow, then a property gets saved on the payload or the page where you started that workflow. Okay, you want to start save that property. So here, what you do is you see there are so many backend Java files. This is ECMAScript. Either you can write the ECMAScript or you can
Mm.
write the backend Java file. Here you
Mm.
see these are all the backend Java file. Even I created one for me as well. Like I remember one I created with the name Bipin. Here you see Bipin process step.
Mhm.
Here I created mine and it is appearing over here.
Mm.
You can create as a developer can create their own backend Java file and they can write any business logic that they want. And
Mhm. Mhm.
and the business logic will work in the backend. So there are only two steps in which you can call the backend Java file. One is this process step. Remember, always a process step is always asked in the interview question. So it's a very good, sometimes it's a very good interview question. Like if you want to execute a backend Java functionality, or what is basically sometimes they directly ask what is the purpose of this process step. Okay, so here to execute a business logic in the backend Java through ICMA, you use the process step. The next
Mm.
is what is if so one is to process step and the other was to dynamic participant step. But dynamic participant step returns something. This process step does not return something, but the dynamic participant step always returns something, and that is the user who will actually perform that. Here we selected the participant step. Here we could have also selected the dynamic participant step, but then for that we would have to write a backend Java file, and that would have returned us with a principal user or principal group, which will then have the responsibility to either approve or delegate or whatever the operation that you want to do. So instead of
Mm.
statically selecting the user, if you know that okay, this is the user group that who got the response, then it's okay. But sometimes what happens, you have multiple sites in a single AEM instance, and there is single workflow which will work for those multiple sites. So in that case, every site or every brand of one that site will have will have its own approval group. Okay. So in that case, you have to dynamically select the 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 correct approval group depending upon the payload, on the payload which you have started. So if the payload, of course, the payload will contain the brand name. So on the basis of that, you will select that okay, if the payload has the brand A, then this is my approval group. If the payload has the brand B, then there is another approval group which should take care of this. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
So process step is important because it helps you in writing the business logic, backend business logic.
So this is only applicable to the content, only the content
Yes.
folders. Mm. Changes to content. Okay.
Yeah. See, workflows are always executed on a payload. And payload is basically your path on which you want it. So path will be your content hierarchy.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Now there is one more scenario where here we are manually starting the workflow. Okay. But
Mm.
sometimes there may be a condition where you want to automatically start a workflow under some circumstances. Like let's say that a node gets created, the node gets deleted, or node gets modified or updated. Okay. Like under these conditions, if you want to start a workflow automatically, then the workflow launcher should be used. If you want to automatically start a workflow on the basis of node created, node deleted, node updated, then this workflow launcher should be used. So here, if you create a workflow launcher, add a launcher, here you see when do you want the workflow to be executed. Here we will say when the event type is created, modified, or removed. So let's say created. Okay. Here you say the node type. What should be the node type? Let's say when a page gets created. So the page type is this is your primary type. Okay. It will be CQ page. Okay. Because the page we always know that the page is of type CQ page. Like component we created, it was of type CQ component in the apps hierarchy. In the content hierarchy, when we created the page, it was of type CQ page. Okay. Here it says, do you want to restrict it with a particular hierarchy that this workflow launcher should only work for a particular hierarchy? Let's say yes, only for the Tojo. In the Tojo, in the user, if inside this, any new page will get created. So what I said is, below this hierarchy, if any new node of type CQ page, basically a page gets created only on the author instance, let's say, or not on the publisher, only on the author. And here we will say, what is the feature? I don't know. But here we'll say our workflow should get executed. So what was our workflow? It was Tojo work. Okay. And I will say activate, and here you can specifically give some exclude list, some regex expression, which helps you in saying that, okay, even if the workflow will be started below this path, but if you want to exclude some nodes or exclude some pages, that you can exclude over here. Okay, within this EN, you have 3 pages, but you do not want to execute below a particular hierarchy for a particular page. Then you can give it over here, exclude. Okay. Okay. This disable feature, I'm not sure what is this. This is, I, I, I'm not exactly sure, but some advanced concept. But here, if you will say create, and your workflow will be here. So let me just search by the tool. Okay. So here, the workflow, whenever a node gets created, this workflow and is in enable state. So let's say if I create a page, let me go back and let's create a simple page below your Tojo hierarchy. So if I will go to the Tojo US EN and let's create a page. And let's create a page with the test WF page. Okay, let's name it as test WF. And let's say create. So by default, the workflow will automatically get executed. That was the Tojo work. You see, automatically it came under the Tojo work. Okay. But if you will create a page any other hierarchy, in that you will not see. If I will create a page with the V detail, here the workflow won't get started because here we haven't set, we haven't applied that. So if I will create my new page, so here the workflow won't get triggered because so here you will see the workflow should not get executed. You see, the workflow is not executed, but executed over here because we have said in our launcher that below this path, if any node get created, then for of type CQ page, then why this workflow should get executed. Okay. So let me just complete that and get rid of. And in the replication, again, your queue will be blocked. You see, your queue will be blocked with the test workflow. Let me just clear this. And also, important thing, when for developers, it becomes as a decision, because see, you remember we worked on that scheduler as well. That yesterday, day before yesterday, we worked on scheduler. So that was also automatically executed, but was executed based on a cron expression that at a particular time, at a particular time, date, this time at a particular day through the cron expression, we can say that this code can be executed. So under those circumstances, you can use, if you have that set of scenario, then you can use schedule. If you want some steps to be executed automatically when some event happens, then you can use workflows. But these workflows are very heavy jobs. These are very heavy jobs. So workflow launchers should be very carefully used because it creates a lot of load on the server. Okay. Let me disable this because every time I will create a page, it will execute my workflow. So if you have any such sort of requirement that for any particular event, these steps should be executed, there is another backend way of doing this, which is through event listener or observers. So I'm not going into that because that is all developers thing, but that is another way to achieve the same thing. So here you are doing it through workflows where step-by-step execution can happen. But if you think that something can be done through event listeners or observers, then that should be preferred over using workflow launchers because workflows are heavy jobs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Workflow are also executed on based on an event, and your launchers and your event listeners and your observers are also triggered on the basis of a event. But see, if you want to execute these steps, you cannot execute inside an event listener or your that observer. So, but if you see that okay, if you say that okay, if a page gets created, like consider there is a scenario where you want that every time a page gets created, you want to add some property on that page. Okay, so in that case, you could use event launcher. Okay, and within that launcher, you can select a workflow which will have a process step, and process step in the background will add that property. Okay, but the same thing can be done through your event list observer. So in this case not workflow launcher, but an event listener should be used.
Mm.
Okay. But if you have like this participants that you have to use and then further it should perform some operation, in that case you cannot use, of course, the launcher, listener
Events.
observer. Yeah.
Mm.
In that case, you would have to use your this only.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So this was all about workflows or
Mm.
this was all about workflows. And just a bit of backend thing. What happens when you create a workflow? Workflows are created below your conf hierarchy. So this is a bit of developer thing I'm telling you. I'm not sure this is useful to you, but
Mm.
since I've told you previously as well many things, workflows are created below the conf hierarchy. So you see there is a Tojo no, not over here, but below global settings, you see there is a workflow, and here you have our models, and here you have your launcher as well.
I
In the
see.
launcher, you see there will be your launcher for your Tojo as well.
Mm.
And this workflows when you create are created below the conf hierarchy, but once you sync them, here you sync the workflows, like when we go and you remember we made an engine and then we sync that workflow.
Mm.
Remember that? Then after syncing, this workflow gets saved below the where hierarchy. So from the conf hierarchy, it moves to the where hierarchy after syncing. And the syncing is important because AEM can read only from inside the where hierarchy, the workflow. So that is why we always have to sync it. So here, if you will scroll down, you will have the workflows. Yeah, here you have the workflows. And here you will see all the workflows that we created. You see again the same. The instances, here you have the two instances. Server. And the instances will tell you about the workflow that we cited. So here it segregated by the date. So here you see
Mm.
Tojo.
Mm.
Similarly, if you want to see the models that we created, the model that we will see, are over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tojo one. So we
Nice. Good.
create the workflow from here, but ultimately they get synced to the where hierarchy. So once we sync, of course, all our custom workflow we sync, but all the default out-of-book workflows are also synced. So they automatically gets below the workflow hierarchy.
Yeah. I think it's good. I think we also talked about this blueprint. Remember, then you
Yes,
said,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
maybe we can touch on that.
Mhm. So I told you about that workflow blueprint and type copy already. I told you.
No, we didn't discuss that. Blueprint we didn't discuss.
No, blueprint is nothing like see.
Yeah.
Blueprint is just a name that you
Uh-huh.
give. Like here in the, if I go over here, so
Yeah.
here in the Tojo, what happened when we created any new work, any new variation, then we
Mm.
select what should be the blueprint copy. Here we here while creating the variation, while we selected the variation, Then we said variation as live copy. So here we selected the blueprint copy. Here it said create live copy from. You see live copy from. So here one of them will become the blueprint. So
That's
blueprint
okay.
is
Oh,
sorry.
okay. I thought. So is there a concept called blueprint publication, similar something like that, or no?
So see what happened when we created, let's select our blueprint copy. Here we said this is our blueprint copy. Now, when we created a live copy, here we set the rollout config. So it says when you set blueprint publication, it means the changes from the blueprint copy, when will those get published to the live copies, or when will those changes be reflected into the live copy. So this is the rollout config. Here we have a lot of conditions under which the changes from the blueprint will get reflected or will move to the live copy.
Oh,
Okay, so you
there
have
is
so
no
many.
other. Got it. There is no other blueprint in AEM. Okay, got it.
No, no, no. Basically, the same that we are using with our experience fragment that we can do with our sites as well, the blueprint and the live copy.
Mm, got it.
Okay. Blueprint is just like the blueprint, the architecture, that this is the main. Using this, we create a variation. Now, in the variation copy, we all the changes from the blueprint will get inherited into the variation or the live copy. So we
Mm,
call it the variation, we call it as the live copy only. So
mm,
every change on the blueprint will get inherited into the live copy. But in the
mm,
live copy, we can further, for each and every component, we can go and break the inheritance. And we can say that, okay, for this particular component, the changes should not come from the parent blueprint copy. But
mm,
for the rest, it will come.
mm,
Okay.
All right.
Now, okay, I will discuss two things tomorrow. One is the SQL2 queries, and the other is a bit about templates. So that thing we will discuss tomorrow, or I
Okay.
can show you about that today even.
Yeah.
See,
No.
okay, let me just show it to you. So what happens if you go to the tool? So see, you have a lot of in the content you created a lot of pages. See
Mm,
here. Now, if you want to search a particular page which has a
mm,
particular type of property, or a particular page which has a particular name with a name, or
mm,
with a particular property in it, below a
mm,
particular hierarchy.
mm,
Okay, so for that, what AEM provides you, so basically most of the time you as a BA will ask the developers to do an query, but
mm,
you should also be aware that okay, how it is done. The
mm,
CRXD, you have these tools. If you will select these tools, you will get the query thing over here.
mm,
And here you get the queries. Either you can write the SQL path query, or either you can use the SQL2 queries. SQL is
mm,
not used. SQL2 or the XPath. So if you will
mm,
select SQL2 and just Google it, SQL2 queries in AEM, and it will give you quite a good list of queries. So let's just copy one of them. So the same query you can use in your uh, code as well while writing the backend code. So it provides APIs through which you can query. So here
mm,
you see, okay, where is descendant is this. So here, what I am trying to do over here is, okay, here I wrote a query where I'm saying select star from CQ page as where is descendant is this. So below content, let's say Tojo, below content slash Tojo, list all the type of nodes which are of CQ page. So if I go below Tojo, you see this is my node, and this is the primary type is CQ page. If I go over here, JCR content, so this is not CQ page, this is CQ page content. So this will not be displayed. But if I go to EN, this is again CQ page. So if I will execute this query, let me execute this. Okay, where is descendant node is content Tojo? Okay, sorry, T is capital. Let me capitalize T and execute. You see, all the pages got listed over here. So you have 8 pages. If you will create a new page, let me create a new page. Let me just copy page an existing page. This is W. Let me just copy and paste it over here. Okay. And let's like this only and execute. You see, the ninth one also came and the name.
mm,
In the same way, if you want to search below this only hierarchy, you want to see where there is a property let's add a property. Okay, let's say there is a property hello, and the name is Tojo.
Hmm.
And I added this property over
Hmm.
here. The property name is hello and value is Tojo. So here is descendant, where is descendant below this path, and I will say S because you created a alias over here. Where
Hmm.
CQ pages. So here, okay, where S dot hello, the property name is equal to Tojo.
Hmm.
Now here, where did we added this property? On the CQ page content. You see, we added this property on the primary type CQ page content, but we are searching it on the CQ page, so it will fail. So we have to update it to CQ page content. Okay, and if I will execute this, you see, it gave me the result. You see,
Yeah.
it gave me the. Now see, this is bad. Why do I have to know that? Okay, it will always be there inside the CQ page content, because if I if I if I have to know by myself that this property will be there on the CQ page content, then what is the use of doing the SQL queries?
Hmm.
It is not good. There is a parent type, parent primary type. Like this is the, like here we have the this here primary type where it went. Okay, somewhere maybe below. So like we have the JCF primary type as CQ page content. The above one
Hmm.
has the CQ page. Our component has the CQ component. So
Hmm.
there is a parent primary type which is called as anti-base, which is the parent of all the primary type.
I see.
If you use anti-base, then it will search for or will look for all the nodes. So if I will execute this, now you do not need to know. You see.
Oh.
Now let me add the same property over or some other node as well. So over here in the container, let me add the same property. That is hello Tojo. Okay. And let
Hmm.
me save it. And if I will again search, execute, you see it started giving me two nodes.
I see.
Okay. If you want to perform AND operation, so bracket, let's say where node this is this, or I think it is like used s dot. Let's say there is another property I, and the value for this is Joseph. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Let me add this property over to some other node, like in the title. Here, let me say the property name is I, and it is okay. And if I will save it, and if I will execute it, you see it gave me this one as well. So if I will go, you see it gave me this.
So where will you use this GraphQL headless?
So GraphQL is mainly used if you so see SQL2, and this is used to search within your is like
Other.
see, yeah, author basically you can say, but graph, so the same queries is what you can use in
Hmm.
your code as well by using there is a query builder API through which you can do the SQL2 queries within your AEM code while you're writing your AEM code, maybe within your services or anywhere. Okay,
Hmm.
the GraphQL is an advanced concept
Hmm.
that helps you in better search the content within the repository. And also
Hmm.
it can search within the JSON as well. So sorting or searching within JSON also can be better done within GraphQL. So GraphQL is is a searching like mechanism only, but it's an advanced way. If you see for that is from developers purpose, how from developers point of view, when they will do the backend thing and when they have to query within their code, then they can either use the query builder APIs or they can use the advanced thing, that is the GraphQL. Nowadays it's the GraphQL that is used, but but if you as an QA or you as an BA, if you want to query on in your content, of course you won't write the code, you can query it from here. So here when you query, then you can either use the SQL2 or the XPath queries.
Yeah, in our team, they were implementing this localization and everything, right? So,
Mhm.
um, so they were using GraphQL, and then I
Yes.
think some
That will
JSON.
be used from, yes, the GraphQL better helps in searching within JSON. Like JSON, within JSON, if you want to search something, then GraphQL can be best used.
Hmm. They were getting a JSON, and then they were copying that JSON and putting in the web server. That's how they were implementing this localization.
Okay.
Maybe that is the converted or translated content, maybe in the JSON form, they may be putting in the web server.
But that is all the backend. Like from backend, see, if you have to search within JSON, of course, GraphQL is the best one to do that. Of course, yes, no doubt. That is all backend. But if you have to query and find something in the content, like sometime many times query comes that okay, they want to update some content and there is a property whose value they want to update on all the pages. Now, how you can query is by this way.